Hello my lovelies, this is just going to be a, well, not so quick video, it's about 25 minutes long, but a set up my June spread in my bullet journal with me video. That's perhaps a little bit of a long-winded way of saying it, but never mind. I'm a little bit premature with making this one, however there's lots of things going on in June, so I wanted to get it set up early so I have plenty of time to use it, and I wanted to be able to film it and show it to you blank before I fill it up with everything that's going on, which I may not want to share on here. So I thought I'd get it done today. It's mid-May. I'm not sure if I'm going to post this now or in June, but I'm just going to show you how I set up my bullet journal spread for June and what I decided to include this month. I don't always include the same things because each month's different. Each month I need different things out of my bullet journal, but this is what I thought I would need this month. So I'm starting off with my cover page for June, and I've gone with a bit of a Disney theme this month because we have got a holiday coming up and I'm very, very excited. So I've started off with a little quote. I saw this on, what's it called? There's a YouTube channel on here. Is it Tea and Bujo or Taya and Bujo? Something like that, and I love the way she sets it up with like an illustrated side and a quote side. So I've kind of magpied that idea. I did it last month and I'm doing it again with this month's spread. So the quote for this month is, "A dream is a wish your heart makes," and I just thought that it was the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking of a Disney theme, and it just made me happy. So I've started off by writing that. I'm not entirely sure I'm happy with how the words are spaced out, but we're going to go with it. I'm learning to accept the imperfections, and it's not always going to be perfect. I'm not an artist, I'm not a particularly good drawer, but I do my best and I enjoy the process, and that's what I'm trying to focus on when I'm doing my bullet journaling and setting it up. Just giving myself time to switch off, enjoy the process, and enjoy that rather than striving for perfection, just striving for something that's usable and that makes me happy. So I think I achieved that with this setup today. So I've got a little Tinkerbell there in the top. I feel like maybe I should get a thinner pen, but this is what we're working with at the moment and it seems to work fine for me, so we're going to stick with it for now. I don't think that you need to have lots of fancy stuff to bullet journal. All you need is a pen and a notebook. And I'm trying to really embrace that and not go crazy buying all the stuff, because I am one of those people that I'll get obsessive about a new craft or something arty and I will want to buy all the things. I also apologise for my big head there in the corner. I didn't realise that my head was on camera. I just got into the process and didn't realise that I was in there. If I did, I perhaps would have put some makeup on and not scraped my hair back like that, but there we go. I was just enjoying a nice little moment of calm to set this up and being my scruffy self. So I've got Tinkerbell at the top, I've written the word June, and then I thought I'd just do some suitcases stacked up underneath. A lot of the illustrations that you will see me do from time to time are taken from, not directly, but I take a lot of influence and inspiration from Pinterest or from Instagram. So there will be things that I cannot take the credit for, like the compositions, but this is just my interpretation and what I have done with it. So I just wanted to make that clear. I'm not that good at coming up with my own things, but I can sort of magpie other bits and piece them together. And I think that this actually turned out really nicely. So once I've done that illustration, I'm just going around with a gold gel pen. I found that I actually need to blot this gel pen before I then shut my book or touch it, because it smudges terribly and it ends up marking the other page. So that's something I learned the hard way last month. But yeah, just a tip, if you are struggling with the same thing, blot it with a piece of paper and you won't get those transfer marks. I'm then using my mostly Crayola Colours of the World felt tip pens to colour in. I think I do use some other pens throughout this video, but I'm pretty sure that on this page I only use the Crayola Colour of the World ones. I absolutely love them. I just think it's a really nice colour palette. It's aesthetically pleasing to me and it just makes me happy. So that's what we're working with. So I've got that bottom suitcase done. I've tried to make them look a little bit vintagey, I guess. That's a look that I really enjoy. It makes me happy. And I just like to keep things quite neutral, although I do have pops of colour. And on my very first page in this journal, I made sure I used colour because I didn't want to be scared of it going through. I don't know if that sounds silly. Does anyone else ever feel like scared of using bright colours in their journals? Maybe it's just me, but I do quite like that more muted colour palette. So again, I'm just continuing to colour this in. There are mistakes that happen throughout this. I fix them with a white gel pen mostly. Sometimes you can still see them, but hey, it's fine. We enjoy the process, and that's the most important part. My lines also aren't always straight. I've been trying to avoid using a ruler. I just find this faster, and I actually kind of like the fact that they're imperfect. But yeah, you can see there that I'm blotting the gel pen just to try and avoid any transfer, and I think I do that a few more times with these additional gold bits that are going on now. The Tinkerbell I don't actually colour in here, but at the end flip through, I can't get my words out. During the end flip through of all the pages I've set up, you will see that I coloured her in. I'm not sure how I feel about how that turned out. I wanted it to be a silhouette, but I didn't really want it to be all in black, so I don't know. Maybe she would have looked better all in black, like Tinkerbell's shadow or something, but I decided to go with something else, which you will see at the end. But here we go on to the next page. So this is like my, I don't know what the correct term for it is, monthly overview. I like to think of it as my main hub for my brain of the month. And it's basically where everything goes before it goes into the weeklies. So I've done a similar layout to the one that I did last month, but there are a few changes on it, and I'm quite excited to see how that works in practice when I'm using my journal. I did a Mary Poppins theme, which I did do as a silhouette, and I actually really like the way that turned out, so maybe I should have done the same with Tinkerbell, but we'll learn for next time, and that's okay. So I just coloured it in with the same black pen that I used to do the outline. You see there, I was just checking to see if there was any ghosting onto the other page, but this paper in this notebook is absolutely fantastic. Nothing went through, and I was really, really pleased with that. So highly recommend. It's a notebook from Notebook Therapy, and it's the first one I've ever had from there, but I love it. I didn't journal for a very long time. I used to bullet journal maybe 5 years ago, and then I stopped. And then when I started again, I bought myself just a really cheap one off Amazon just to see if I stuck with it, because I have a habit of getting into these things, becoming completely obsessed, and then a couple of months later I am done with it. So I didn't want to spend a load of money. I wanted to see how it went first. But after keeping it up for over 6 months now, I decided it was time to treat myself, and I'm so glad I did. I love this notebook. It makes me very, very happy. I'm a stationery geek, like stationery makes me happy. So here I'm just doing like a little calendar on the page. I love to be able to see what day of the week each date falls on, and I'm trying really hard to get my lines straight, but I'm just not one of those people that can do that perfectly. I need to keep practicing, I think, but it's functional, and that's the most important thing. So I'm just finishing off those lines. I probably should have been a little bit more patient and let the ink dry a bit more, because you'll see in a minute on that bottom box, the very last one, there is a bit of smudging, but we're going with it. That's absolutely fine. I'm not sure what I'm going to put inside these squares. Last month I did like balloons for birthdays, and then I did like pound signs for paydays and things like that. So it was just like a quick picture reference of anything important, but I'd love to know what you do with yours. I'm just doing a little city sketch underneath. It's very, very basic. I quite like the simple look, and I'm not really a good enough artist to do anything more complicated, but I love the way this turned out, and sometimes I think simplicity is the best way to go. So this is meant to be London in a very loose sense of the word. Again, I got inspiration from just doing image searches on Google, taking pieces of things that I liked, and then just sketching it out myself and tweaking it to fit into the space on this page. So I liked the idea that Mary Poppins was flying above London, Although maybe that would have been better with Tinkerbell. I don't know, what do you think? Tinkerbell or Mary Poppins for this? Was Mary Poppins even in London? I feel like she was, but maybe I've got that wrong. I need to catch up on my Disney facts. But yeah, you can see it's just a very, very loose sketch. There's not much detail. The windows are lines, but I think it looks kind of cute. What do you think? I'm pleased with it, and that's all that matters, because let's face it, I'm the one that has to use it. On this, the right hand side now, I'm doing a tracker, and I avoid trackers because often I leave them and I don't fill them in, and then I get cross with myself because I haven't filled them in. But I saw this on Pinterest, perhaps it was, a way of doing a tracker on like a grid, and you plot different dots. So like I've done steps, sleep, screen time and mood, and then I've given each of them a value. So sleep, 1 dot is 1 hour, so if I slept 8 hours I would plot that day on the 8, and then I'll join up the lines in different colours to represent the different things as it goes along, and I think it'll look cool when it's done if I keep up with it. But I thought if I just keep it all on one tracker, then I don't have loads of little ones that I'm trying to keep up with and overwhelming myself with. I hope that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but I know what I mean. I started out using a ruler to do these lines over here, and then quickly gave up because it was just taking too long and it was a bit fiddly and I was stressing myself out with the placement. So I just decided to freehand these again, and I don't think they turned out that badly. These lines, I don't know if I did this on camera or not, but I basically put the date, each date in June, next to each line, and then I have a little bit more writing space for things that are happening on those days. I just find it easier to write on than the grid layout. It just works better for me, and that sort of just writing on each line, that's what I used almost every single month in my cheap Amazon bullet journal that I was working in before this one. So I'm a firm believer that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, I've added more pictures and more decoration and things like that, but I've kept that basic layout the same because it works for me. And you know, when you find something that works, I really do think it's a good idea to stick with it and use it, because the whole point of the bullet journal is to be productive, not to look beautiful. Even though I do really enjoy spending this time to be a little bit creative and doing some sketching, that isn't the main point of setting this up. The whole point is to be productive, hopefully. I do find it helps more though, because it helps me to be more accountable. If I have to check in with my journal each day, it helps me to be accountable, and I love to be able to tick things off a tick list. Is anyone else like that? I find that really helps. And also I have long COVID, so my memory is shocking, absolutely terrible. If you tell me something and I don't write it down, you basically never told me, because I'm not going to remember at all. I decided to colour the moon in with a silver gel pen, which I don't really use the silver one very much. I tend to go for gold, but I just thought it would be more appropriate with the moon. I don't know, that's just the vibe I was feeling. These next 2 pages are much more simple. I'm just going to do a quick spending tracker on this side, and I'm literally just going to do a border and a picture and leave it blank. I'm just going to write a list of all the things that all the money that I spend, all the things that I buy during this month. I'm trying to be a little bit more frugal. I've been doing more overtime recently, and that's going to end soon, so I need to just get back on top of living within a smaller budget again. And I thought this would be a good way to hold myself accountable and make myself think, do I really need that? I don't know, there's something about having to write it down and hold myself accountable for it that makes me question purchases a little bit more. Is anyone else like that, or is it just me? I'm terrible, especially for craft stuff. It's like, oh, it's just a couple of pounds here, a couple of pounds there, and then pretty soon your whole month's wages are gone on washi tape and felt tip pens. So on the spending tracker, I did the rose from Beauty and the Beast. I just thought that would be a nice, simple, small illustration. And then on the other page, I've done a little YouTube page, and basically I'm just going to write down any video ideas that I have, and it's just somewhere where I can keep lists of ideas. So again, all I'm going to do is a border and a little illustration, and it's just going to be more of a note style page. So this is the mirror from Beauty and the Beast. It probably looks nothing like it, but it's a mirror, okay? We get the theme, we get the idea of what I was going for. I then decided to just do these pale pink borders going around and soon regretted it because, again, more straight lines without a ruler. I should have used a ruler, but I'm stubborn and I like to try these things, so we went with it. I don't think it turned out too bad. And same on the other side. Again, the headings aren't exactly in the middle, which possibly should matter to me, but honestly it doesn't. I feel like I've really embraced the imperfections more recently, and I actually think because of that my bullet journal looks better, because I'm not constantly berating myself for little mistakes or ripping pages out or, you know, trying to cover things up. I'm just allowing myself to go with the flow, and I think that it's made me more creative. Does that make any sense at all? I feel like maybe I'm just waffling a little bit now. But yeah, there we go. I think the rose in Beauty and the Beast was red, but this one's pink because it just fit the colour scheme better. So we're using a bit of creative license there. And then I've just used this yellow pen to go over the mirror, and I just did a couple of little like reflection lines with the silver gel pen. I've only got a couple more pages that I'm going to do now, but this next one is very, very exciting, and it's my Disney to-do list. I just thought it would be nice to make a list of all the things that I want to do with the kids, with the family, whilst we are on holiday, and then I can tick off the things that we managed to do, and it'll just remind me, because when I'm swept up in the moment and I see Mickey Mouse, I know I'm just going to be like completely gone. My mind's going to go. I'm a big kid. So I just thought that this would remind me of all the things that I want to try and do, and then I can plan out my days and try and prioritise getting some of those done whilst we are there. In the bottom corner, again, I'm just doing a little illustration. It's a very, very simple sketch of Belle from Beauty and the Beast. I didn't do a face. I can't draw faces. And I know that it would have really bothered me that my attempt wouldn't have looked like Belle. So I decided to just leave her faceless. I mean, is that okay? I mean, it's my journal, of course it's okay. But does anyone else do that and just draw like the line drawing without the face, because faces are just a bit overwhelming? Maybe that's something that I could have a little practice at, just for fun in the evenings. But for now, I think she kind of looks cool faceless. Poor Belle. On the next page, I'm doing a packing list. So things that I need to pack. So I've done 3 columns at the top, and I used my line spacing grid to help me sketch this out when I did the initial pencil drawing underneath. I did do pencil drawings underneath all of these just so I knew what I was doing whilst I filmed it, and it makes it faster. Plus you can rub things out if you make a mistake, so that's always a bonus. So in the 3 columns, we've got one for things I need to pack for me, things I need to pack for my husband, things I need to pack for the kids, and then the 2 bottom ones are toiletries and electronics. And I just thought that that would be a good starting point where I could note down things as I think of them that I'm going to need to pack. Like I say, my memory is shocking, so I just thought this would be a nice way of, when I think of something, I can write it down, and then I'm not going to think, oh yeah, I need to remember to pack that, and then I actually forget. It means hopefully I can come back to this list and actually remember. I do like making lists for things, but I tend to lose them, so it's always helpful to have my bullet journal, because then everything is in one place and I'm a lot less likely to lose it. So I'm just colouring in Belle now. I just kept it really simple. All of my colouring is really flat. I haven't really done any shading in this journal so far, and I kind of like that. It's kind of the vibe that I'm feeling at the moment. I loved this yellow for the dress. I think it turned out perfectly. Let me know what you think, but I was just really pleased with that colour. I think it was a really good match for Belle. Then I'm just doing some gold details for her earring, and again blotting that away so it doesn't mark the next page. This is the last spread that I'm going to share with you today, and it's the first weekly spread for June. So I always like to do these little calendar tabs on my weekly spreads. Again, like I say, it just helps me to know what date is on what day. I find that really useful just to be able to see it at a glance, and yeah, then I did a little illustration at the top, a bit of decoration, and I wrote, what did I write? Let the magic begin, I think. And then behind that, I am going to draw Cinderella's shoe. This is my least favourite illustration that I've done in this whole setup, but you know, we're going with it. I feel like shoes perhaps aren't the easiest thing to draw. I thought it would be super simple, but for me this was actually the hardest one to do, and I just don't like, I think the heel's too clunky. I mean, if I went to a ball and I wore that shoe, it's not what I would pick, okay? I then did like a little ticket in the corner to try and tie back in that travel theme, because I realised that I'd forgotten it a little bit. And this layout is one that I've done in quite a few other spreads in this journal so far. I used to like the narrow long boxes, but I actually find that it's easier for me to write in and work in when I have shorter, wider boxes. I do like to mix this up throughout the month though, just to keep things fresh and interesting so I don't get bored of my journal. But yeah, what do you think? I actually really like this layout. It works well for me. I like putting the day of the week in the box, if that makes sense, so the day is like part of the line. And I just think it gives me the right amount of space, not too much that it's overwhelming, not too little that I haven't got space to write in. I just think this size works really well for me personally. And that's the best thing about bullet journaling, the fact that you make it work for you. When you buy a planner or a notebook, it's going to be aimed at being useful for the masses. So it's never going to be exactly 100% what is right for you. It's going to be what is mostly right for most people. This way you can make it exactly what you need, and I love that. That's my favourite thing about doing a bullet journal instead of just buying a planner. Then the last little picture that I'm going to do is a pumpkin turning into a carriage, and again I wasn't that keen on this. I feel like this is my least favourite pages of the whole thing I've done so far, but it was fun and I enjoyed the process, so that's all that matters. So the first pumpkin I did just a pumpkin, then I did the pumpkin with wheels, and then I sort of made it a little bit more round and less pumpkin-like, but still with the pumpkin stalk. And then the last one is going to be a carriage. It's not the most fancy carriage, but it was the best that I could come up with. So there you go, that's what we've got. Hopefully the more I do this, the better my artistic abilities will become, because you know, practice is everything, and the only way you're going to get better is to keep practicing. So whilst I'm enjoying drawing again, I want to make the most of that. So I just wrote Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo on the bottom. I don't know if it's spelt right or not. I probably should have looked it up, but never mind. I'm now just adding some sparkles and the date to those days of the week boxes. I'm not sure about the silver. Yeah, I feel like I'm questioning this page a lot. We'll change it next week. But there was just, I don't know, there's just something about this that I'm not feeling. So all that's left to do now is to colour in the illustrations, and maybe if I'd coloured them in properly I might have liked it a bit more. I just did some sort of outline to make it, I wanted it to be like a glass slipper, but that was more challenging than I thought it would be. Then I started with the pumpkin and coloured those in, so it started like more of a browny orange, and then I made it get lighter and lighter until at the end we went with silver and blue, because Cinderella colours. That just made sense to me. And that is pretty much it. I'm going to do my final flip through in a minute. The only thing I have added since, which I realised I didn't put on this video, was I've got a calendar tab. You can see it on the left sticking out for May. I did actually stick that in on this page that you're seeing right now with Tinkerbell on it. It just went in that top corner, so that is on there now as well. But other than that, this is it. Oh, and I added the numbers. I added the numbers for June. Why didn't I do that on the video? I have no idea, but yeah, there's numbers down there now. Everything else that you see is exactly how I've left it, and I can't wait to be able to start getting organised, because June's going to be here before we know it, and it's a very exciting month. I cannot wait. I'd love to hear your opinions. Let me know what you thought about my theme. Is there anything that you include in your journal that I haven't included that you think is absolutely vital, you couldn't live without? Or is there anything in here that you think I've included that perhaps isn't necessary and is a waste of a page in your opinion? I love hearing how different people use their journals and what different people find useful, because as I say, the best thing about this process is that you get to make it exactly for you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think of my theme in the comments below, and yeah, give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Have a good day whatever you are doing. Bye.